It's a classic story. Boy meets girl, boy kidnaps girl, girl's mom almost destroys the world, and then girl's dad negotiates a shared custody agreement. And that's how we got Winter. By the way, the boy is technically the girl's uncle, and all of those people are gods. This, in essence, is the story of Hades and Persephone, but this ancient myth has gotten pretty misunderstood over the centuries. So to really get what it's trying to tell us, we're gonna have to think like ancient Greeks. To start, let's tell the story. It's a good one, and it's short. Persephone was the daughter of gods Zeus and Demeter. Hades, god of the underworld and also Zeus' brother, popped up for a visit, spotted Persephone, and knew he had to marry her.
You're his brother. You are the god of death.
But knowing Demeter wouldn't be keen on the idea of her daughter relocating to the realm of the dead, he sought and received Zeus' permission to abduct her. When Demeter couldn't find her daughter, she was beside herself and set out wandering the land to find her, forbidding the earth from producing anything in her despair. Since she was the goddess of the harvest, this was a bad thing. Eventually, Helios, the god of the sun, shined some light on the truth to Demeter. An angry Demeter, plus a lot of very hungry Greeks, pressured Zeus to order Hades to send Persephone back to the living.
Hades, you're where you belong, down in the dark!
Hades had a trick up his sleeve, you see. He kept Persephone starving, but tempted her with pomegranate seeds. Once you tasted the food of the underworld, you'd never escape it. Here's where math comes in. It's always math. Persephone ate 6 seeds, so Zeus negotiated a deal. Hades gets Persephone down there for 6 months, and the other 6 months she gets to hang out with her mama on Earth. This way, at least half the year, Demeter would allow crops to grow. And there you have it, how we got seasons. Modern storytellers have added shades of meaning to the tale of Hades and Persephone that folks assume come from the original. Often such misreading stems from grafting current-day narrative conventions and moral values onto ancient peoples. For example, a 21st century grad student might ask why Persephone has so little agency, when agency wasn't a thing back then. I mean, everyone just glosses over the fact that Hades and Zeus, her father, were brothers. They're just going to ignore the fact that her uncle fell in love with her and kidnapped her? Anyway, this misinterpretation is especially true because stories like Hades and Persephone's have been rewoven into numerous contemporary forms. Hades is often depicted as a cruel autocrat under whose thumb a rebellious Persephone chafes, a very modern-day take. But the truth is, happiness in marriage wasn't expected by the ancient Greeks. The day-to-day substance of Hades and Persephone's relationship, whether struggle-ridden, amicable, lovey-dovey, or whatever, isn't mentioned in the myth at all.
I knew her mother, Demeter, would never approve of me.
The original tale is more about Demeter, Persephone's mother, and seasons, and mother-daughter relations. All the marriage stuff and husband and wife relations is a modern twist to the tale. So now you get that the story of Hades and Persephone explains the turning of the seasons. Seasonal awareness was absolutely critical to societies like those of Hellas, the ancient name for modern-day Greece, where you mess up a harvest and everyone starves. For the most part, the yearly cycle of the seasons remains stable. We move from spring to summer to autumn to winter, and that at least can be predicted. Why? It's all because Demeter misses her daughter, of course.
Winter has ended. I must return to Mount Olympus.
We've got evidence of this tale going back to 1500 BC, well before it appeared in written form. Back then, Hellenes erected a stone temple to Demeter at Eleusis, which became a focal point for sacrifices to the goddess going forward. It was critical to keep Demeter happy because her moods determine the seasons. Sometimes it isn't so much that people have been told a lie about Hades and Persephone, but rather that they've jumped to conclusions. Folks often mistakenly assume writers of stories are tacit proponents of what happens in the story. In other words, some believe that because the story of Hades and Persephone contains a kidnapping and forced marriage, that the story advocates such actions. This couldn't be further from the truth. In 880's Metamorphoses, the Roman poet Ovid wrote his own version of the Hades and Persephone tale in which he described Persephone as terrified and forced. Her mother Demeter was duly furious and, quote, blamed all countries and cried out against their base ingratitude before stripping away the gift of corn. Back in those days, marriage was looked on as more of a business arrangement than a partnership or love match. This doesn't happen in the story. Instead, Hades goes behind Demeter's back and takes what he wants.
Hades, for crying out loud.
Also at the time, families followed a set of traditions and prescribed rituals when a marriage took place. This doesn't happen in the story either. Some elements of the tale are true to life though. There was a big age difference between Hades and Persephone, which is accurate. In ancient Greece, men married at about 30, while their wives ranged from 14 to 18. Persephone more or less moved in with Hades in his family home, which is also accurate. The big takeaway often missed is that the story inverts ancient Greek values because Hades doesn't show respect to Demeter by requesting her formal consent to marry Persephone. To the ancient Greeks, this would have rendered the story a cautionary moral tale about how to undergo a proper marital union. Plus, there's the whole uncle thing. Happiness and love might have existed in some marriages, but that was just good luck and besides the point. Like we said, these were just straight up business deals and a way to keep the society going by producing future workers, aka children. Love had nothing to do with it.
I don't need a man to be happy.
And yet, time and again, contemporary readers misconstrue the story of Hades and Persephone by making love and happiness the central issue of the tale, especially Persephone's. This couldn't be further from the original intent of the story. According to the University of Oxford, the concept of love in a romantic sense in stories didn't even exist until the 12th century AD. It originated with the medieval era values of fealty, chivalry, and loyalty. Think knights rescuing damsels in distress and that kind of thing. The concept of romantic love evolved throughout the Renaissance, Enlightenment, and modern eras, egged on by lots and lots of poetry. This grand centuries-long evolution happened millennia after the Hellenes lived and invented the story of Hades and Persephone. Strangely, and even disturbingly, the story of Hades and Persephone has often been respun as a kind of hot, sexy paperback romance. Themes in this case revolve around suppressed sexuality, possession of another person, control, domination, and other such things that would tickle Sigmund Freud pink. Plus, have I mentioned the whole uncle thing? I have? How about one more time? He was our uncle in the story. But that kind of erotic take is not only patently untrue when looking at the tale's original text, but speaks 100% of us moderns, not ancient peoples.
When two souls are meant to be together, nothing can keep them apart.
We can arguably trace the false erotic angle back to an extremely influential Bernini sculpture from around 1621 dubbed The Rape of Persephone. And at present, the sculpture and its title have nearly eclipsed the influence of the original text. It stands to reason that the hot, sexy couple angle is a reflexive attempt on the part of moderns to cope with the unpleasantness of the original text's kidnapping and forced marriage one. And in their effort to reframe what's considered an unpleasant story, folks have redressed the power imbalance of Hades and Persephone into something more palatable to contemporary sensibilities. Our final lie/misinterpretation stems from the same discomfort that moderns feel about what looks like, to us, a case of criminal abduction and child abuse. We're talking about the sizable age difference between Hades and Persephone. While both were immortal gods, Hades is usually conceived of as a solidly middle-aged man, while Persephone is envisioned as a young woman. But like we said before, that was just how things were back then, teens marrying men in their 30s. In fact, no Hellene would have batted an eyelash at this facet of the story. Once again, the point of the original tale was to demonstrate how Hades offended Demeter, the mother of his wife, and sister-in-law, because I can't shake that part of it, by not following proper protocols and receiving a formal declaration of consent to marry. This was such an offensive move, especially between gods, that it changed the entire natural order and created the cycle of the seasons.
During the time she spends here, Demeter makes certain everyone suffers as she does.
While each Greek city-state had its own practices and customs regarding marriage, men generally married when they were older than women because of military obligations in their youth. Women, meanwhile, generally married as soon as they were capable of having children, since carrying on the race was one of the primary functions of marriage. No children meant no future society, and the Hellenes were serious about that. In fact, city-states viewed unmarried girls as a, quote, problematic demographic.
Persephone! Don't ignore me.
Or what? I'm already in hell.
And once a woman married and was adopted into her husband's household, dowry and all, part of the husband's role was to more or less raise her into adulthood.